Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem. So we are going to get you ready for geometry. We're going to start by talking about a right triangle first. So a right triangle is a triangle that has one angle that is 90 degrees. So in a right angle, the two sides that are adjacent to the right angle are actually called the legs. So sides A and B here would be the legs of the right triangle. And then the side C that kind of runs across from it here is called the hypotenuse. So Hypotenuse. So that's called the hypotenuse. But the Pythagorean theorem is used to find the missing side length on a right triangle. So it only works with a right triangle. And the formula would be a squared plus b squared is going to be equal to c squared. Okay, so we're going to start by just proving right triangles. So given three side lengths, we're going to use the formula to show whether or not they represent the sides of a right triangle. So we have sides 8, 15, and 17. Our A would be equal to 8, our B would be 15, and our C would be equal to 17. So if we put it into the formula, A squared would be 8 squared plus 15 squared is equal to 17 squared. So we're going to use our calculator. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared would be 225, and we want to see if that would be equal to 289 because 17 squared is 289. So when we do that, 64 and 225, we're going to get 289 is equal to 289, so we just verified that it is indeed a right triangle. Okay, the next triangle we have has side lengths of 5, 9, and 12. So our A is 5, our A would be 5, our B would be 9, and our C would be 12. So this would be 5 squared plus 9 squared. Does that equal 12 squared? This would be 25 plus 81, and we want to see if it equals 144. When we add 25 and 81, we find out that it's 106, and that does not equal 144, so this is not a right triangle. Okay, so why don't you pause the video here and try number 3 and 4. Okay, so coming back, we would have 7 squared plus 24 squared. Does that equal 25 squared? That would be 49 plus 576 is equal to 625. When we add them together, we get 625, and that does indeed equal 625, so we know that it's a right triangle. And then number 10, 10 squared plus 14 squared, does that equal 18 squared? 10 squared is 100, 14 squared, 100 is 196, and 18 squared is 324. When we add it together, we get 296, and that does not equal 324, so that this would not be a right triangle. Okay, so finding a missing side, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side length, and we're going to round the answers to the nearest tenth. Okay, so it's the nearest tenth here. So again, I've got my a squared plus my b squared. Let's write it up here. A squared plus b squared is going to be equal to c squared. So in this case, our x is the hypotenuse, so we're looking for the hypotenuse length. So our a squared will identify this as being, we've got our a and our b. It doesn't really matter as long as they're adjacent to the right angle. And our a would be 60, so we've got 8 squared plus 7 squared is equal to c squared, or x squared in this case because the c is x. So we've got 64 and 49. Okay, we add them together. When we do that, we get 113 is equal to x squared. So now we're solving for x, so we're going to actually take the square root of both sides to solve for x. And when we do that, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So our x is actually going to be equal to 10.6. Now recall, it's also equal to negative 10.6, but the negative answer doesn't make any sense in this situation. So we throw out the one answer and we go with the positive. X is equal to 10.6. Okay, so for number 6, again, we're looking for the hypotenuse. It's the one across from the right angle mark. So our 15 squared, we'll take 15 squared plus 18 squared is going to be equal to x squared. 15 squared would be 225 plus 324 equals x squared. We add it together, we get 549 is equal to x squared. And then when we take the square root of both sides, we're going to find out that our x is equal to 23.4. Okay. All right, so if you want to try to pause the video, you can, all right? But again, our whole goal is to isolate. We want to isolate x2 and then x squared and then take the square root of it. So in this case, if you notice, we've got, here's our right angle mark. So we'll use this as our A, or we'll use this as our A and this is our B, okay? And our C is here. So in this case, A squared, remember, a squared plus b squared is equal to our c squared. Okay, again, your hypotenuse is across from the right angle, so it's going to be right across from it like that. So in this case, we're finding one of the legs. So a squared is really our x value. We're going to square it. Plus 3 squared has to be equal to 11 squared. So we've got x squared plus 9 is equal to 121. And then we're just going to subtract our 9 from both sides. And we get x squared is equal to 112. And then we take the square root of both sides to solve for x, and we get x is equal to 10.6 centimeters. Oops, not writing. There's our answer. Okay, so number 8. All right, again, across, we know our hypotenuse here is 30, so we're going to take our x squared plus our 24 squared, and that's going to be equal to 30 squared. X squared, okay, plus 576 is equal to 900. And then we'll subtract our 576 from both sides. All right, our x squared is going to be equal to 324. And then we take the square root of both sides. Our x is going to be equal to 18, and in this case, the units would be yards. Okay, so that would be 18 here, and that would make it work, 18 yards. Okay. Number 9, again, I identify my right angle mark here, so we know we're looking for one of the legs, so we can either call this A or B. This is B, but we do know our hypotenuse is across, so that's our c squared. So we can take x squared plus 12 squared, and that's going to be equal to 20 squared. Our x squared plus 144 is going to be equal to 400. Now we subtract our 144 from both sides. When we do that, our x squared is equal to 256, and then we take the square root of both sides. Our x is going to be equal to 16 inches. All right, so now we've got a couple of word problems. We're going to draw a picture before setting it up. Okay, it actually is helpful. It says find the length of a rectangle, so we're looking for a rectangle. So let's start off by drawing the rectangle. Okay, that has a diagonal. Now a diagonal is actually the hypotenuse. It cuts across from one side to the other like that. And it's 25, so it has a diagonal of 25 feet, and that's a 25, and then it has a width of 15. Okay, so we know the hypotenuse and we know one of the legs. Okay, we're going to try to find the length. So we're looking for our length, which is the variable here. So that's our right angle. So we're going to plug in x squared plus 15 squared is equal to 25 squared. X squared plus 225 is going to be equal to 625. Now I'll subtract my 225 from both sides. And we get x squared is going to be equal to 400. And then when we take the square root of both sides, our x is going to be equal to 20 feet. Don't forget your units. All right. Number 11, it says a 20-foot ladder is leaned against a wall. So let's draw a wall here, okay? And if we draw a ladder, it's going to look like this, okay? So there's our ladder, and it's leaning against the wall, and the base of the ladder is 8 feet from the wall. So this is our wall right here, okay? This is our ladder, and the base is 8 feet right here. So the ladder is 20 feet, so it's going to be 20 feet. So that's actually the hypotenuse. Your right angle is right here, okay? And we're looking to see how high the wall is. So we're looking for this distance right here. So let's say this is our A, then we're looking for our B, one of the legs. So if we plug this in, we're going to get 8 squared plus our unknown, which would be, let's make it our x. It's our b, but we're going to make it, the variable actually be the, the variable is going to be the x. Let's put that in. Okay, so plus x squared, and that's going to be equal to 20 squared. So now we've got 64, okay, plus x squared is equal to 400. And now I subtract my 64 from both sides. And my x squared, whoops, let's erase this mess here. Okay, my x squared is going to be equal to 336. I take the square root of both sides, and my x is going to be equal to 18.3 feet. Okay. Okay, now the last one we have, it says George rides his bike 9 miles south and then 12 miles east. So we start off here and we have George. Here's our George. He's going south for 9 miles. So there he goes riding south. So that's a 9. And then he starts heading east. So he goes 12 miles east. Okay. How far is he from his starting point? Well, that would be a distance here, which would be x. This is what we're looking for. Now, if you notice, we're looking for the hypotenuse. So we put it into the Pythagorean theorem. One side is 9 squared plus 12 squared would have to be equal to x squared. So we've got 81 plus 144 is equal to x squared. Add it together and we get actually 200 and, whoops, let's do this. We get 225. 225, there's my 144, sorry, okay, is equal to x squared. Now I take the square root of both sides, okay, to get x by itself, and x is going to be equal to 15, and our units would be miles. Okay, so now you're just going to do some practice problems and see how it goes. Thank you.